Nifty Sensex struggled to find direction even as mid-caps take a beating. Realty and industrials are the big losers while IT manages some green. JSW Group Chief Sajjan Jindal tells CNBC-TV18 that he expects some indications on steel safeguard duties from the government in 15 days. On the EV front, he expects the launch of a made-in-India car in 18 months. Axis Bank CEO Amitabh Chaudhary tells CNBC-TV18 there is a risk of stress spreading to the secured book from the unsecured book with regulatory tightening. He also doesn't see a rate cut spurring growth. US President Donald Trump has indicated that he might impose a 10% tariff on imports from China on February 1st. The fear of tariff action prompts India to accept the return of a near 18,000 illegal immigrants. Hello, good afternoon. You've tuned into Business Lunch on CNBC-TV18 and I'm Vinny Motiwala. Markets, what we're seeing that markets have fallen from the day's highest point, but yes, not at almost the day's lowest point as of now is where we're seeing. The Nifty trading at 23,000. It's just managing to hold on to that mark. So yes, keep an eye on the Nifty, 0.06% down. While Sensex, that's managing to hold on to gains of almost 0.1%. That too is down in trade from the day's highest point. What's underperforming today is the broader markets. A significant underperformance on that front. Nifty mid-cap, like you can see, is down 2.5%. Small cap also similarly is underperforming, down 2.8% in trade. Nifty IT, let's pull that up because that's the only sector that's managing to hold on to green today. So Nifty IT, we are seeing green coming in on the screen, 1.5% gains over there. Stocks in the Nifty IT, so TCS, TechM, Infosys, all of them are managing to hold on to strong gains coming in on the Nifty 50 front as well. So yes, IT is the one that's managing to hold on to gains. One more stock that I want to highlight in the Nifty 50, let's pull that up as well before we go to Nifty 500, is Sun Pharma, because Sun Pharma is also managing to hold on to good gains in today's trading session. So Sun Pharma, strong performance coming in there today in terms of a stock move up 1.3%. Now let's move to the Nifty 500 and talk about the top losers coming in on the Nifty 500 front. We have India Cements that's down and out. Aditya Birla Real Estate reported its numbers yesterday. So we had seen some fall coming in, and today also we're seeing Aditya Birla Real Estate seeing a sharp fall. India Mart also is tanking in trade today, not holding on to good gains. Other than that, we have Cairns, Sirma SGS. All these are under pressure in today's trading sessions. That's how we're seeing in terms of a market setup coming like. Broader markets, clearly a sharp, significant downfall that we've seen coming in versus the benchmark indices. But let's move on and talk about what's happening in US. Now, a lot of policies have poured in from the US after the 47th president, Donald Trump, has taken office. The latest in the bag is the Stargate project, which will invest $500 billion in the AI infrastructure and create hundreds of thousands of jobs in the US. Now, the project will be headed by the SoftBank CEO Masayoshi Son, as well as OpenAI CEO Sam Altman and Oracle Chairman Larry Ellison. They will be a part of this project, and while new projects are in the pipeline and executive orders are passed, doubts continue to remain among global investors about the H-1B visas and the looming tariffs on China. Listen to what Donald Trump had to say on this issue.
I also like very competent people coming into our country, even if that involves them training and helping other people that may not have the qualifications they do. But I don't want to stop. And I'm not just talking about engineers. I'm talking about people at all levels. We want competent people coming into our country. And HB1, I know the program very well. I use the program. Maitre d's, wine, experts, even waiters, high-quality waiters. You got to get the best people. Now, then you go into people like Larry, and he needs engineers, and Masa needs, and this gentleman needs engineers like nobody's ever needed engineers, right? So we have to have the quality people coming in. Now, by doing that, we're expanding businesses, and that takes care of everybody. So I'm sort of on both sides of the argument, but what I really do feel is that we have to let really competent people, great people come into our country. We're talking about a a tariff of 10% on China based on the fact that they're sending fentanyl to Mexico and Canada. Probably February 1st is the date we're looking at. For Mexico and China, we're talking about approximately 25%.
And moving on, and earlier we also spoke to Mark Linscott, who served as an assistant trade representative in the first Trump cabinet. He had told us that China will be among the first countries to face Trump's tariffs. Listen in.
We have a presidential memorandum that was issued that delays the imposition of tariffs, and in fact calls on each of the trade agencies to start a process to look at countries with which we have a trade deficit, unfair trade practices, looking at existing free trade agreements, looking at sectors that have national security implications. And those reports are due to the president on April 1st. So it appears that there could be some delay in imposition of tariffs, perhaps with the exception of Canada and Mexico. He did make specific reference to those two countries. And China is obviously an outlier as well. So we will see, but there is likely to be a delay in the imposition of tariffs.
However, Linscott also said that the Trump 2.0 would want a trade deal with India. Here's why.
There's a strong desire among many in the Trump administration, or many of those who we expect to have cabinet level positions once they are confirmed by the Senate, that it's desirable to have a trade agreement with India. And that was true in the first Trump administration. And I think it's been reinforced ever since, that it's important for the U.S. and India to have a bilateral trade relationship. It could take a number of different forms. It could be a mini trade deal involving a few sectors, a few tariffs. It could be something more substantial along the lines of the GSP negotiation in the first Trump administration. It could be an FTA, which is totally comprehensive. I think it will not be a mini trade deal. I don't think it will be an FTA. I think it will be something in between, in fact, a little more substantial than the GSP deal.
Okay, on that note, we're going to slip into a very short break. Don't go anywhere. More news and updates after this break.
Think about India, we have them growing strong next year, consistent with what they grew this year. It's now moved to the 5th largest economy.
The Honeywell view on India, and how do you see the next few years?
Domestic business is extremely well. Can't be more pleased in terms of opportunities in India.
It is, and there are lots of reasons for that. One is because he's in a much stronger position in the United States than he was in 2017.
They're working on AI. They're working on all the innovative capabilities that we want to input into our products. A lot of that's coming out from India.
If I were to say even heart and mind put together, India is an exciting story.
I mean, our commitment to India is clear.
And more from the World Economic Forum in Davos. Amitabh Chaudhary, MD and CEO of Axis Bank, says that if the regulator keeps a tight leash on lending, there is a possibility that slippages on unsecured side could slip towards the secured side as well. Listen in.
We also have to be cognizant of the fact that if the regulator continues to keep a tight leash on lending in general, there is a possibility that some of this slippages you're seeing on the unsecured side could flow on the secured side, because they're all linked. And we have to be watchful of that. I mean, I don't think we should be just gung-ho for the sake of being gung-ho. We need to be watchful. And I think that's what we're trying to share to the market, that we are not going to lose any opportunity to grow, but at the same time, we have to be watchful of what risks could potentially emerge. And if you look at our numbers, the numbers are always stabilizing. See, we've gone through a period where the credit costs in India were at a historical low. And we talked about the fact that this will stabilize. So I think you're going through a cycle, a little bit of stability. You've also seen the Indian consumer over-leveraging themselves in some case quite rapidly. So I think that also is getting normalized as we move forward.
Okay, and meanwhile, Roshni Nadar, the chairperson of HCL Tech, says that she expects to see more federal level opportunities in the US in the Trump administration. Listen in.
I think there was a certain element of unpredictability in 2024, and I think there were lots of customers, clients and companies waiting to see what unfolds. There were, I think, more than 60 countries going into elections,
yes.
Right, culminating with the US, and I think that now it's back to business and back to strategy and implementation. So we expect 2025 to be better.
And as we slip into the break, here's some good news for our viewers. India's business news leader is now a click away. Introducing CNBC-TV18's all-new app. Get instant access to breaking news, in-depth articles and financial world updates at your fingertips. Download the CNBC-TV18 app now from Apple Store or Google Play Store, or just scan the QR code on your screen. Thanks for staying tuned into Business Lunch on CNBC-TV18. Now let's move on. India's ambitious Pradhan Mantri internship scheme seems to have fallen short of expectations in its pilot phase. Sources told CNBC-TV18 that despite 6 lakh registrations, only a fraction of internships were filed. Shivani Bazaz is joining with us to give us more details on the story.
Well, yes, the government's ambitious Pradhan Mantri internship scheme seems to have hit a few roadblocks in its pilot phase. While over 6 lakh candidates registered in the PM internship portal, sources tell CNBC-TV18 that only 28 to 30,000 applications were accepted and less than 10,000 interns joined the positions offered to them. Interestingly, in the first phase, 280 out of the 500 selected companies, including big names like Reliance Industries, Tata Consultancy Services, HDFC Bank and Maruti Suzuki, offered a total of 1.26 lakh internship positions, exceeding the initial target of 1.25 lakh internships in the pilot phase. However, participation remained much lower than expected. Now, the government is reworking its strategy. Sources say that Ministry of Corporate Affairs may disclose company names and locations upfront in the next phase, allowing candidates to make informed decisions before accepting the offers. Because it seems like many interns accepted the positions and didn't want to travel out of their hometowns for these internships. Now, discussions are also underway to include candidates with master's degree and those currently pursuing any degrees in colleges. This is to boost the participation in the scheme. Remember, with the 2,000 crore allocated for the program in FY 24-25, the government faces the challenge of addressing these gaps to make the scheme a success.
Thanks for that. But let's move on. An External Affairs Minister, S. Jaishankar, met with the newly appointed U.S. Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, who in Washington, D.C. Now, the two leaders also attended the first ever Quad under the new Trump administration. Parikshit is joining in with us to give us more details on what's happening here. Parikshit, good afternoon.
Well, yes, this was an important meeting, the first meeting between the Indian government and the US government after the Trump administration took over. So External Affairs Minister Subramaniam Jaishankar was there in the US. He had a one-on-one bilateral meeting with Marco Rubio, the new US Secretary of State. What is notable is the fact that when Trump's inauguration ceremony was taking place, Subramaniam Jaishankar, the External Affairs Minister, was one of the leaders sitting in the front rows of the hall. Having said that, immediately after Rubio took over, there was a meeting of Quad leaders, Quad foreign ministers in Washington, D.C., followed by a one-on-one meeting with Jaishankar. Now, what was this meeting about? One was to widen the India-US bilateral relationship, the economic partnership, continue the emphasis on emerging technologies, defense, for the future as well. A lot of work has happened in the Biden administration, and clearly India would like to take that forward as well. There was a discussion on irregular migration as well. This has been a concern from the United States for the last few years. recently, as early as November last year, the US had conveyed to India that there are approximately 18,000 Indian nationals illegally staying in the United States. Some of them are in detention centers and they would have to be sent back. So the Ministry of External Affairs has said that yes, there is a migration and mobility arrangement with the United States, and because India wants to push and encourage more legal migration, they will support any kind of move by the United States to check this illegal migration into the US. So it is quite possible in the days to come, India and US might come to some sort of arrangement to allow these people to be deported back to India. However, nothing has been finalized as yet. The immediate focus from the Indian side would be to ensure that the trading partnership continues. There is the possibility of talks on a free trade deal reviving as well, with several former Trump administration officials telling us that yes, the Trump administration and the Trump cabinet wants a trade deal with India. It could be on the lines of the US-Japan trade deal as well.
Okay, Parikshit, thank you so much for the latest update coming in on that front there. We'll keep an eye out on more updates. Quickly, just want to mark the numbers that are flashing at the bottom of your screen. With Polycab that's come out with its Q3 numbers, we've seen a bit of a fall coming in the stock, though EBITDA seems like largely slightly above the expectations of the CNBC-TV18 poll. Margins also a bit better than what we were expecting at CNBC-TV18. 13.8% is what the EBITDA margins have come in at. We've seen a slight bit of a fall that came in the stock when the numbers were announced, but we'll wait out for more internals coming in terms for the numbers of the company versus last year, how they're looking like and what the individual segments are doing. As of now, the stock is down 5.7%, but it was trading in the red in today's trading session. As of now, did see a bit of a dip when numbers were announced. But another exclusive from Davos, Paytm CEO Vijay Shekhar Sharma has expressed his optimism over achieving EBITDA is what we're talking about, and we had an interesting chat with that as well. So that was something that we were watching out for. But it was a very interesting conversation that Shireen had with Vijay Shekhar Sharma. Let's move on, and apart from that, we also had a lot of announcements that came in, and in terms from the Davos side. But a quick look at what the market is doing as of now. The Nifty 50 is down 0.05% in trade. 23,000 is what it's managing to hold on to. Not much of an excitement there. We have IT that continues to do well. We have BEL. Let's pull that up because that's clearly under pressure today. So we're seeing clearly a lot of pressure on BEL, and that is among the stocks that are among the top losers for coming in the market as well. But like I was saying, we spoke to Vijay Shekhar Sharma at Davos. Shireen spoke to Vijay Shekhar Sharma at Davos and listened into what the conversation is actually coming in terms of the EBITDA profitability. When are they planning to achieve it? What was spoken over there? Listen in.
Well, the road ahead looks like that we have committed that next quarter we will be profitable, EBITDA before ESOP, meaning before the ESOP cost, which is also reducing incidentally, and we should be doing that. So we are working on the business which is now PAT profitable onwards. So after a couple of quarters, we should talk about PAT profitability, and I would go for that.
After a couple of quarters, so what does a couple of quarters mean?
A couple of quarters are a couple of quarters.
So you won't specify, is that 3, 4?
I learned that being a public company, one thing that you should know is that you should not have one information arbitration with other information. So what we've been talking, I'll be able to detail it further, just like we've said it. Okay. And we've said it that from this point onward, we in earning call also talked about that because our large cash pool gives us interest income, our two costs, which are capex sort of and lots of, let's say, other costs will get sorted out. So we should head towards a PAT profitability soon.
In few quarters is what you have to say.
I have to say that.
So let's talk about what's happening on the UPI side of the market, Vijay. And despite the fact that you've got the NPCI approval, we've actually seen market share come off quite sharply. A 50% drop as far as your market share is concerned, now down to 5.5%. Why is that?
It's very bad, and I can only say that. I mean, the situations and the reasons are public. I'd not like to repeat much of that, but I'd say that...
is it on account of the trust issues related to what happened with the bank?
No, we were not allowed to onboard at all for last... So our business was paused because of regulatory understanding and something. that happened thereof. And post that it has come, I'm very happy that without any marketing spend, we are adding millions of customers. So I have a super brighter side ahead, just like this bright sun in Davos right now. We all are surprised, yeah. And I can say that even though we've fall, market share exists, but it is easily recoverable with the product.
How do you ensure that it becomes easily recoverable? What are you going to do?
I think the customers are coming in. It's a product gap. Deeper integration to UPI ecosystem and more merchant acquisition, which creates a flywheel, will bring our consumer back.
Okay.
We do have a marketing budget, but right now we are focused on product-led growth.
Okay. That's all the time we have on this edition of Business Lunch on CNBC TV 18. Thank you so much for tuning in. Up next, your Midcap Radar.